Hello, Pewter people. Scott Reynolds here with the new Pewter Pulse. How will the Bucs deal with the NFL's new kick return rule? That's today's topic, and I think it's an interesting one. I have some theories about this new rule and how I believe that Bucs head coach Todd Bowles and new special teams coordinator Thomas McGahee might handle it this year. But first, I ask you to hit the thumbs up button on this video, leave a comment. Doing those two things helps our YouTube algorithm and gets us in front of more awesome Bucks fans like yourselves and grow our YouTube channel. So the NFL has instituted the XFL kick return rule in an attempt to make the kick return a more relevant play again. In the interest of player safety and to prevent big returns, teams have just been routinely banging the ball through the back of the end zone and making their opponents start at the 25-yard line. Now the penalty for a touchback gives the other team the ball at the 30-yard line. I read a recent column by Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio, and I think he's onto something. Let me share it with you. Earlier this offseason, Florio was suggesting that the new kick return rule may revolutionize the NFL with the possibility of more flipped field situations, or that most teams would still continue to kick touchbacks. Now, Florio believes that more teams will opt for the touchbacks, which is what the NFL doesn't want, hence the rule change. Florio predicts that by the trade deadline, half the league will be kicking the ball through the end zone. He also said that number might be low and it might be late, and that there are some in the league office that feel like they blew it with this new rule, that they should have made the penalty for touchbacks the 35-yard line instead to discourage teams from continuing the touchbacks. Florio mentioned that earlier this offseason, Dallas Cowboys special teams coordinator John Fossil projected that the starting field position is going to be at the 28 or 29-yard line with the new XFL style kick return. So what's one more yard to safeguard not giving up a huge return or a touchdown? By kicking the touchback and having teams start at the 30. What I know is that the Bucs spent quite a bit of time this offseason practicing the kick returns and the kick coverages, especially in minicamp, with the new rules that are essentially establishing a line of scrimmage with the coverage unit and the blockers just 5 yards apart on the kick return side of the field, like a lot of time, as Todd Bowles admits. This is what Bowles had to say during minicamp. We allocate an awful lot of time with it. Again, you can't tell in shorts and t-shirts. You've got to see what type of bodies you need on both sides of the football and see how the return game is going or whether you need to kick it into the end zone. That'll detail itself more in the preseason, and we'll see what we want to do, but we're experimenting with everything. The problem is that by the time the Bucs get to training camp, they'll need to spend a lot of time continuing to install and work through Liam Cohen's new offensive scheme. And Bowles will want to install some new wrinkles on a defense that could have as many as 5 new starters from opening day last year. If Zion McCollum, Tyke Smith, Jordan Whitehead, KJ Britt win starting jobs as expected, plus whoever replaces Shaq Barrett at outside linebacker. How much extra practice time is Todd Bowles willing to dedicate to this new phenomenon of kick returns and kick coverage? How much trust will he put into a brand new special teams coordinator in Thomas McGahee that he's never worked with before? I have no doubt that Bowles will experiment with this new kick return and kick coverage quite a bit in the preseason. But what makes this new rule tricky is that it's a little bit more of an offense and defensive play than a traditional special teams play, because there is essentially a line of scrimmage between the 30 and 35-yard line. As a result, I wonder if Bowles will be doing some collaboration with McGahee in terms of defending the kick return. Bowles' defenses do have a history of being great at stopping the run. But will teams deploy 300-pound offensive linemen up front as blockers or use lighter, more agile bodies to block, like tight ends and linebackers up front? That will make a big difference in what types of bodies Tampa Bay deploys in kick coverage. So there's a lot of variables. it might just be easier to kick the ball through the back of the end zone, is what Todd Bowles might be thinking. So, unless the Bucs just have a ton of success covering kicks in the preseason, I could just as easily see Bowles tell Jake Camarda to keep blasting the ball through the back of the end zone this season for two reasons. Number one, Bowles is a more conservative, risk-averse coach by nature. And number two, having Bowles' defense start at the 30 instead of the 25 is only 5 more yards. And with Bowles being the defensive play caller, I could see him trusting his defense more than maybe an offensive-minded head coach would trust his own defense. The other factors in all of this are, can Jake Camarda successfully drop those kicks deep inside the landing zone without going out of bounds or into the end zone for a touchback when the Bucs don't want a touchback? And can McGahee find the right disciplined tacklers to be trusted to make stops and prevent big returns? If Tampa Bay can find the right 10 players to cover Camarda's kicks, and they are successful at penetrating the wall of blockers on a routine basis in the preseason, then Bowles might be inclined to risk it with kicking the ball into the landing zone. The reward could be backing opponents up around the 20-yard line or perhaps even deeper. It'll be fascinating to watch to see how Bowles and the Bucs navigate this new rule this summer, in the preseason, and into the fall. Pewter people, we want you to navigate Pewter Report TV. Check out all of our Pewter Pulse episodes, Pewter Report podcast, and other great Bucs video content. Please subscribe. And again, click the thumbs up button and also leave a comment. Follow us on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report, and also pewterreport.com for all of our Bucs coverage. And I'll be back soon with a new Pewter Pulse.